Therapy Appointments online forms feature is tied into the client portal, the client intake process, and the client's record, offering you a seamless, paperless intake process and the ability to assign forms and documents to both new and existing clients. Your clients can complete and sign these documents from their phones, tablets, or computers. You have access to create and manage online forms for your practice if you have owner or manager privileges. Go to Settings in the top right corner of your application. Select Templates from the top tab and identify the Online Forms section. If you already have existing forms and you want to look at them, you can click List. If you want to add a new form, you can click Add. So let's go ahead and click List, because from within here, I can also add a new form. So you can get to both places no matter which one you want to choose. So let's start building a new form from a template that Therapy Appointment provides. After I've shown you this process, I will instruct you how to build a form from scratch. So to use a template, click the Start with a Template button and scroll down to view the pre-created templates available for your use. I want to let you know that you do not need to create demographic, insurance, and credit card forms, as those forms are already pre-built into the client's intake process so that they can automatically load into the client's profile fields. You can preview the different templates by clicking on the Preview button. And if you don't like it, close a preview. And when you find a template that you want to use, go ahead and select that template. Let's go ahead and use this one. This adds a template to your practice's list of forms and allows you to now edit the form. Form templates are built in sections. As you scroll through the form, you may discover a section that you would like to replace or edit. To do this, click on that section of the form to reveal the editing tool for that section on the right-hand side of your screen. I'm going to select this Paragraphs area. And now I can edit the information in this box. I can change or replace the wording here. I can change the font size. I can change the boldness. I can change the alignment, and I can change it all back as well. Once I've made my changes, I can save them as I go if I wish to do so by clicking Save Draft. Let's look at some other elements on this particular form. When you see elements that have parentheses around them, these are placeholder elements, and they will automatically self-complete when the client is looking at that form with the information in there. So in other words, when this client goes into this form, it's automatically going to show that client and be pre-filled in with their first and last name and their date of birth so that they don't have to type it in for you. Okay. You're also going to see some other elements. Right, so this is a short answer or long answer element. Here's some elements that are a, yes, no selector, check boxes. There's some drop downs in here. So I'm just quickly going through this form and kind of showing you some different elements. Now this particular form is unique because it has some elements that are set aside for only therapists to complete, and even other elements that are set aside for supervisors to be completed. So what this means is that this form can be first assigned to the client to self-complete, then be delivered to the therapist to add information to it, and then if there's a supervisor, can be delivered to the supervisor to add information and or sign it. So let's go and look at some other elements and how we might edit them. These are drop-down elements. So the title of this element is Thought Processes, and here are all the items that make up the drop-down menu here. There's quite a few of them. If you wanted to leave one out, you could use the little trash can symbol. If you wanted to add options to this element, you can click the Add Options button. So I hope you can see that it would be very easy to edit the fields here in this form. When you are happy with your edits, you can publish the form. So I can go up to the top, hit Publish, and now I have some options right here on the right. You can select how this form is to be used. The form's name, what you might show to a client versus what you would see internally in your practice, the last time it was published, and how you're going to use this form. Auto-assigned means that this form will be automatically delivered to brand new clients registering in the client portal for the first time. Okay. The second, clinical form, means that the information on this form is confidential. And so when this form is completed by a client, that only staff members with clinical access for this client can view the completed form in the client's record. And the third element, shared with practice. This form, being checkboxed, is shared with the practice, which means that it's available for any provider in the practice to use. And since it is also auto-assigned, what this means is this form will be delivered to every new client in the practice, no matter what therapist they're assigned to. If you turn this off, it's no longer going to be delivered to every client, but only the therapist that this form is assigned to. And right now, this form is only assigned to the owner in this practice at this time. Now let's build a custom form without using a template. We're going to build one from scratch. So let's go to Plus Add, and instead of clicking Start with a Template, we're going to start and build our own template using the elements over on the left-hand side. So this column on the left lists the different elements that could potentially make up your form, and they're divided into several sections based upon how they're used. This top section adds instructional text fields, allows you to add a title element, section headers, sentences, and paragraphs. The section element allows you to add specific sections to your form, with that therapist section and that supervisor section being reserved for your staff to complete. The free text elements provide a space for your client to self-complete as a short answer, long answer, a section reserved for an email format only, and a field a client or provider where they can type or draw their client signature in. Multiple choice elements allow clients to choose their answers from a drop-down list, checkboxes, or range questions. Date element adds a date field. And auto text elements are those fields where you can automatically import the information such as practice and therapist information and the client's information into the form so that that doesn't have to be typed in manually. And last but not least, there's a spacer element used to add more space between your elements to give you a form on how it looks. So let's build a quick form using some of these elements. You can click on the element to the left to add it to your form. You can also drag an element on the form where you'd like to rearrange it. So I'm going to start building my form by having my practice's logo at the top. Then I would like to put a title on my form. So I'm going to go back up to the instructional section, hit title. I'm going to make this a bold. I'm going to put it in the center, and I'm going to type my title here in the label section. Now, next thing I want on my form is some instructional text that tells the client what I want them to do. So I'm going to grab this paragraph's free text, just click on it, and that's going to add it as the next element of my form. So let's say that I want to make that a longer paragraph here. Okay, so I have my form here. The next thing I want to do is ask my client a question and ask them to give a short answer in response. So I'm going to choose this single line text field. So here's my question. How many pets do you have? And I'm going to make this a required field. Okay. Now you'll notice that this is taking up the whole width of the form. And it's a short question. They're going to have a short answer, so I'm going to have it take up only part of the width. So 12 equals the entire width of my form. I'm going to bring it down to 6 to take up only half the width of my form. And that allows me to put another element beside it. And maybe I would like another question that's this type and this width. And so if I click on this Make a Copy button, that's going to copy this form element and put it right next to it. I can even do that again. And so if I have the same kind of element in a row, I can just quickly copy them. Then I can click in it and I can change the wording, right? So I'm just going to quickly do that. And if you're looking at another form and you can bring it up on another screen, copy paste, it makes it easy. And if I don't want this element here, I'll just click the trash can button and delete that element. Okay. Next, let's add an element where I want checkboxes to go in here. So I can title the checkbox and I want this to be required, and I'm going to have a lot of options here, so I'm going to add some more. And I am going to allow my client to make multiple selections here because they might have multiple responses. So let's say that I have one cat, one dog, one cat, and one dog. So I can just make as many of these responses as I want. If I don't need some of these, I can trash can and get rid of them. Now, again, this isn't taking up that much room on my page, so I might want to make this element much shorter here, and I could put it over here and put several things together. Okay. So you have that same option with drop-down menus where you can title it and choose your options for the client to select from a drop-down menu. Other things here, I could go ahead and say, yep, and that client's first and last name needs to go in. Don't need that one, but I would like the client's date of birth. Again, those are very short fields. I don't need it to take up the whole width of my page. So let's have it take up a smaller amount of the page. Okay. And when the client's finished, I want them to go ahead and sign. So I'm going to have them put this e-signature field in. And let's say place your signature. Now I forgot, I wanted to put a paragraph of instructions up here. So I can do that. I can just grab this paragraph's free text, and instead of just clicking, I'm going to grab it and drag it, and then I can put it in my form. I can just drop it, okay? So if I get it here, if I dropped it somewhere I don't want, I can just drag the handle and I can move it further down, okay? So you'll see that you can do that with any of these elements. Just drag it, and then you can move that element wherever you want it on the page, okay? Now I'd like to preview my form. So I'm going to go to the top right and click Preview. And this is what it's going to look like if the client completes it, right? They can see the drop down, and you're going to notice, oh, I need to put a title in there, right? So I can go back in and I can edit that template again. And when I am ready, all I need to do is make sure I save that draft, and then you're going to want to click Publish here. That means I can begin using this form. So now let's talk about how to assign a form to a client. I'm going to click this X to get out of this view. But whenever I have a brand new client, so I have a new client, remember that the forms that I said should be auto-assigned are going to automatically be sent to the client when they're invited to register in the portal. So here's a list of all the forms that are going to be sent to the client in the portal. And once I send this invitation to the client, that client is on my intake wizard if they're a new client, and I can edit the forms that are going out to that client at that time. So let's go to Mr. Rodman. I have these documents assigned to him, so we'll see that he has 0 of 5 completed. I can click in here and manage the documents. This takes me right to the client's profile, and he has been assigned these documents. If I would like to delete a document that he's been assigned, I can click delete for it, and I can delete that. In order to do that, I have to type the form name in there just to make sure, because he started filling it out, so I want to go ahead and delete that. But if I want to assign a new form to him, I can go to plus assign, and here's a list of all my published forms. So let's say I want to assign this Medicare private contract. I've assigned that form, and now the client got an email notification. They have a form waiting for them. In the email, they're going to click a link, and it'll take them to log into the portal where they can complete the form. Here is an example of a client portal, and the client was sent an invitation to complete the extra forms that were assigned. And you can see when they log in, they see a 7 on this forms button. So when they click on that, it's going to take them right to the forms. They can go ahead and click on that form, right? And now they can complete it. You'll see where it's filling out information. It wants it to put in the date, and they started completing it. They're going to go ahead and complete the form. If they hit send, then it's going to ask them if they're sure they want to send this. If there are any required fields in that form that they haven't answered, it's going to ask them to go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and hit send, OK. And now that form's been completed by the client. If that client is an active client and not a new client, I can see their forms by going to their client profile, go to Docs and Forms section, and here are all the forms that have been assigned to them. And I can see the level of completion of the form. So here are the forms that were completed. Some were started but not completed. And here's one that's been assigned to the therapist to complete, but the therapist hasn't done their part on it yet. So this is where you'll be able to see and manage all the forms for your clients in one place, already pre-attached to their record. Thanks for watching.